Hey, what's up, everybody? Sorry about that delay. I think we were still in backstage. So we are on stage now. My name is Matthew Dooley. For those of you who don't know me yet, I'm the partner and CEO at Dooley, a boutique social media studio right here in Hyde Park in Cincinnati, Ohio. And given the topic, I'm going to ask you all to drop a quick comment to share your favorite content creation app, whether that's Instagram's edits, maybe InShot or CapCut. Please let us know your favorites, and maybe we can all start learning from each other already. If you didn't join our last webinar put on by Amy, our paid media director, this is our second webinar in our show and tell series in the summer. And next month, just as a heads up, Stephanie, our trends lead at Dooley, will walk us through both social and cultural trends in her new series called The Bloom Scroll, which is kind of a positive spin on the doom scroll. So today, I'm proud to introduce you to one of our fabulous content creators, Stella. She is going to teach us a little bit about storytelling on social specifically, as well as offer super practical tips on capturing and editing content with your iPhone. So, Stella, please take it away. Stella, I think I just pulled you into the webinar. BRB, let me go check on Stella.
Okay. All right. Okay, technical difficulties here, but we are live. Hello, everyone. Welcome, welcome. Thank you so much for joining us this afternoon. I hope you all have your lunches, and we are just going to sit and chat about some ways that you can shoot like a creator on social. And I'm super excited to hear about what everyone is using. I see a lot of Canva, a lot of CapCut. I saw some other platforms, and it's so exciting because constantly, right? There's always different softwares and different opportunities for ways to put together creative on social media. And so today we're just going to go through a few fun tips, but also the power of telling story on social media and how it's a little bit different than traditional storytelling. So let me go ahead and share my slides. All right. Everyone, can everyone see my slides? Can I get some feedback, some emojis in the chat if you can see everything? Okay, yes, you can see the slides. All right, first and foremost, I would love to hear where everyone is tuning in from today. I'm sure we have a lot of Cincinnati in the building, but go ahead and drop where you're coming from today. I know we have some people outside of Cincinnati also joining us, so that's really exciting. Welcome, welcome. We got some New York in the building. That's exciting. Lots of Cincinnati love all over, and I love to see it. I love to see it. Ooh, Idaho. Cool. So like I said, my name is Stella, and I have been at Dooley Social Studio for a little over 3 years now, actually 3.5 years. And I have about 9 years of experience in the video production industry. I love video. I love its ability to tell an effective story and to really move people into action. So, yes, you're going to get a lot of tips today about some technical things about how to shoot video using the powerful machines that we are all walking around with in our pockets. But also, I really want to drive home how effective story is and how story looks a little bit different on social media and how to really use it to your advantage. So, let's get into it. First and foremost, we have another giveaway. If you joined us for our last one, Amy gave away a strategy. And so today, I would love to give away one of these really cool vlog monitor screens. As we probably all know, our back cameras shoot so much clearer and sharper video than our front cameras. That might be changing on some of the newer models of the iPhone. But these are compatible with both iPhone and Android, and it's a lot of fun because you can use the back camera to use to shoot video and still see yourself, right? So stay tuned. At the end of the webinar, we will be announcing the winner for that prize. Okay, so just grounding us on what we're going to be doing today. Also, so you all know, we're going to be sending out a recording of this. So you can take notes, you can take screenshots, but also we're going to send this all out to you after the webinar today. So today we're going to be going over, like I said, the magic of social first storytelling. We're going to go into a little bit, what are some simple things that you can do to move from being a clear amateur in the video content creation field to making your video look more professional, right? You don't have to be a full-on professional in the social media space, which is so much fun. There's so much room to play around. But what are the little things that you can do to up-level your content and make it look a lot better for effective storytelling? I want to hear what are you all using. So we're going to talk a little bit about some of the tools that we use here at Dooley. And again, with video content creating on our phone, you don't need any kind of crazy sophisticated equipment, but it's just the little things that can take your video from one level to the next. And then we're going to talk about how to really make your story come to life and some of the more tactical things that you can do to stay organized and make sure that your content is up-leveled. All right. So as of January, there are 5.24 billion people using social media. Well, maybe not people's per se, but identities on social media, right? So this could be businesses and all sorts of stuff like that, but that is a lot of people and a lot of content that's constantly being generated on social media, right? 94% of people who have access to the internet worldwide are on social media, right? So the vast majority of the world are competing on social, trying to get attention, trying to be heard. And it truly does beg the question, if everyone is on social posting, then why should you be posting too? This is a question that has stumped me a lot, right? It's like, oh my gosh, everyone is here, everyone is doing trends, everyone is competing in this market. So how do you stand out, right? And why would my content be more important or more reasonable than watching anyone else's content? But I would argue if everyone is posting on social media, why wouldn't you be posting too, right? I think that it's so important, right? To just kind of drop the guise of like, oh my gosh, everyone's doing it. So why would I be on social media too? And really just take advantage of the opportunity that we have here to create and drop the need to be seen and really just create from the heart, create from your soul and create for the sake of telling a good story. And this applies to brands just as much as it applies to your everyday content creator, right? Um, Everyone has the opportunity to use social media as a creative outlet and use social media to play around a little bit, right? So let's talk about the magic of social first storytelling. I would argue that every single piece of content that you post on social media is telling a story. Whether it's just a photo, whether it's a reel, whether it's a tweet on Twitter, you are putting your identity out there into the ethers, right? And you are able to craft something that is sharing about the content and sharing about your brand, right? So I think with that, knowing that, it's just really important that we make sure that everything that we're posting on social is intentional. It doesn't have to be performing super well or there's all sorts of metrics that we're going to look at to see what's most effective and what's not. But it's just important that we're grounding ourselves in the reality that you are telling your story, you're telling your brand's identity by everything that you post. Not to give you like paralysis, right? But more so just opening the floodgates to the possibilities of what your story is and what you want to portray on social media. So this is actually your invitation to play. There is so much out there on social media right now. There are all sorts of trends that you can hop on. But I think what's most important is that we are trying things on, right? Social media allows you to have a lot of margin of error. There's just a lot of opportunities to create an identity on social media. And so some things might land, some things might not, but that's the joy. You can just play. Not everything has to look super polished. Actually, with social media, it invites you into the realm of what things really look like. Nobody wants to see super advertised or super polished things all of the time. Maybe that's something that you can mix into your brand identity, but in what ways can you play? What ways can you like go on trends, like hop on trends? And in what ways can you make your content um really full spectrum, right? I think it's all about balance and it's all about trying on different things. Some things will land, like I said, and some things not, but that's okay. You have a lot of permission to just put things out there on social media. So, the first question I have is what is the story that you want to tell, right? It's super important to get clear about who your brand is, what your brand identity is. And in order to do that, maybe there's some questions that you can be asking a little differently if you're not seeing the kind of results that you want to see. Some questions I think are super important to ask yourself. Why does this account even exist? What do I want to do here, right? What do you hope to achieve with your social presence? And what is the core mission and value of your brand? When you ground yourself in some of these questions before creating anything, it helps guide you into what kind of content will be most effective and what's going to tell the story of your brand. Honestly, when someone goes onto your page, it shouldn't take them several posts to understand who you are and what you're trying to portray. You have your bio at the top, you have the opportunity to pin posts, and just make it really clear what it is that you're trying to do with your page, what it is that you're trying to do with your brand. And from there, everything can blossom. Okay, who is it that you're trying to reach? It's so important to get super clear about this. When we're looking at some of the brands that we work with here at Dooley, we get really specific about who our audience is and what their personas are. If you are a content creator, kind of doing your own thing and really trying to advance your own page, then this can look a little bit differently. Maybe you're not speaking to a specific persona, but it does help to get really specific about who your niche is. Who do you want to come to your page and stay on there, right? Who are you speaking to and attracting? What are their demographics? What are their interests? What are their challenges? And one thing that I think is super important is to really kind of consolidate what the main themes are that you want to be portraying on your page, right? Narrow it down to maybe 3 to 5 main themes. And then from there, every piece of content, just ask yourself, does this align with a theme that I want to portray through my brand? And then that's it. If it does, great. That's a perfect post. Go ahead, try it on. If it doesn't land, that's all right. If it does, you know that you are being intentional about what you're posting and who you're trying to reach. Get super clear about your approach. So, yeah, there was so much going on in social media, and there's so many different things that you can try on. But I think that one thing that is consistent and keeps people on your page is if they see consistency on your feed, right? So, do you want to prioritize more informational videos, tip videos? Do you want to make really cool graphics that kind of draw people's attention? Are you doing meme cards? Um, a page that you stay on tends to have something that you can like that's replicated and something that people know that they're going to get when they're going on your page, right? So this could look like a lot of lifestyle videos. It could look like making sure that you're hopping on trends and trying things on in a new way and just knowing that everything that you're doing is telling the story of who you are and what your brand identity is. All right. This kind of intimidates some people, but you have 3 seconds to get people's attention. And I would argue even less than that sometimes. So make it count. What does that mean? When you're creating a piece of content, it's just really important to really ground yourself in like what you want the overall key message to be and how do you do that on social media, right? Um, you're competing for people's attention at the end of the day. So the way that you start your video is essential. The way that you start your content is essential to keeping attention. And if it is a picture, is this something, so say you're making a carousel. Is the first picture something that might grab people's attention and keep them, right? You're just wanting to make sure what you are putting first is your strongest piece of content. And I'll talk about a little bit of what that means and what that looks like on social. All right, so this is the traditional story arc, right? You have the exposition, so you have time to establish your characters, you get people, you build affinity towards the characters, and you get people to actually care about the character at the beginning of the story, right? And you have your rising action, and you don't need to get to the key point or the most dramatic or the most effective part of the story or the conflict of the story until you reach the climax. And then you have your resolution, your falling action, and your resolution, right? So you have time. That's how you get hooked on movies. That's why we all love movies, right? Because you're starting to really care about the characters, and then they have time to establish affinity, and then they have you have time to then, take your audience through the entire resolution. But when we're looking at social media, okay, so like I'm trying to coin this so nobody steal it, okay? Um, I like to call it the social story slide, right? It looks a lot different than your traditional story. You're starting with your hook. You're starting with the most interesting piece of your content because keep in mind, you only have 3 seconds to win someone over, right? If you're trying to get people onto your page, this could be the very first time they're seeing your content. So, what's your hook? How are you grabbing them in and getting their attention? And then you have time to get your key message across and then your call to action. An effective story on social will always have these main elements. And again, this could look like literally a 5-second video, and they have an effective story on social still has all of these components, even if it's just 5 seconds. So I have a few examples from, oh, actually, my next slide has a little bit of an explanation of that, right? So your hook starts with the most intriguing or eye-catching content, right? So this could be the way you're starting the video. It could be the audio that you're using on the video that just people are familiar with it because it's a trending audio, so they might stay a little longer because they're like, okay, how is this person using this trend? And this, or it could be a visually appealing element of your video that's going to get them right away, right? And then you want to go quickly into the main point or the action in the video. So if you're like doing a storytelling video where you're just talking to camera, maybe you're starting with a intriguing statement that kind of hooks them, and then you'll have time to land the plane, right? You have time to get them to listen to the rest of your story, but maybe you start with the climax of the story and then you go into the full arc. And then your CTA at the end, your call to action, and with the punchy conclusion that drives people to action. Story is effective because it builds affinity and it drives people to action. At the end of the day, that's what you want to do. You want to get someone to do something about what you're talking about, right? So I have a few examples of this from one of our clients, Gold Star. And I want to show you 3 different examples of how this kind of story slide works and how it's effective, whether it's a short video or a longer form video. Oh, okay, so for this one, and I hope everyone was able to hear the audio there, right? For this one, you have a trending audio, right? A lot of people were using this audio. It's familiar. You love the song. And so you use that to get people's attention. The key message on screen, it said mood when it's Burger Week, right? So we know, oh, they're talking about Burger Week, and that's the message here. I'm excited about Burger Week coming up. And then the call to action. Sometimes a call to action can live in your caption, right? So something fun, grooving our way through the week with $8 burgers and fries. You're getting the message out there. Burgers are $8 right now, and we're excited about it. We're dancing, right? So you're actually telling a full story, even though that was literally a 5-second video. Oh, I want to watch it again. Okay, so here's another one. Another really fun trend that we ran into, and we're like, okay, let's get on to this one. You have your hook. Okay, what is this girl doing? Is she flashing everyone? Did you just see that? And then she keeps doing it, right? So you're gonna keep people like the message here is that, oh my gosh, she's just flashing everyone. So you're keeping someone intrigued, and then that call to action is come. We have the spicy chicken sandwich that was once limited time is here to stay, right? Okay, I got one more for you. This is a fun one. And oh, why does that keep happening? Okay, this is a fun one because yes, you might have 3 seconds to grab people's attention, but once you have their attention, you have their intention. And then that is a bridge to tell a longer form story. So this video is about a minute plus, and so I'll play that for you now.
What's the spiciest thing you've eaten? Your mom? She's not that spicy. Are you hungry? Oh yeah, I am starving. I heard they got this new spicy chicken. You think it's hot? It's nothing, bro. They call it hellacious sauce. Yeah, that's where we're from. Hellacious sauce. Hellacious sauce. I can handle it. Can you handle it? I'm going in. Fiery, but it's amazing. How are you? All right? Hey, one more bite. One more. One more. One more. It's hot. No, it's hotter than hell. I think I need a little heaven. Not again. Really? It looks like a classic chicken sando. Oh, how's your regular chicken sandwich, Mr. Can't handle the heat? What?
Okay, so you're probably seeing the same time I'm seeing. I forgot to change here what the hook, key message, and call to action is. So let's talk about it, right? So for this one, this was a really fun piece, right? Because right away you're kind of hooked in because are there's two guys in devil costume eating a sandwich. Like what is going on here? And originally, the video started with them kind of fighting with their pitchforks. And that's intriguing, right? That could be a hook. But just going through their audio and hearing that joke at the beginning, we're like, okay, what is some way we can be a little bit, we can push the boundaries a little bit and get people's attention to really explain in a fun way that not only did Gold Star release a spicy chicken sandwich that you gotta go try, and if you haven't tried it yet, I'm telling you, it's fire. It's really spicy, so maybe get a milkshake or something to kind of balance it out. But it is fire, right? But a lot of people don't even know that Gold Star has a regular chicken sandwich with heavenly sauce. And so thus was born this whole concept of hell versus heaven, like, and them battling. And if you can't handle the heat, you got to stick in heaven, right? So it was just a fun way to grab people's attention with a funny joke in the beginning, a little bit of a raunchy joke, and then we could really land the plane about the message that we want to get out there, right? Try the spicy chicken sandwich, but also, if you don't know, we have a regular chicken sandwich that has heavenly sauce as well.
What's the spiciest thing you've eaten?
All right. I would love a little bit of feedback. What is most intriguing about this story slide? Have you ever heard a social put in this way? I know like having a hook is something that we often talk about, but I think understanding that the hook is just to grab attention. You don't want your whole entire video to just be a hook, right? But what is the story you're trying to tell? It's just about being really intentional about what it is that you're putting together, right? All right, so I want to get in a little bit into some tips, right? Okay, so we know what stories we want to tell, but how do we do it, right? First, let's take a little trip down memory lane, even though most of us probably weren't alive during this time. So this is where we started, right? This was the birth of video. We have this, I don't even know. I can't even like start to imagine how they use this thing. But this is where we started, and we've clearly come a long way since the birth of video. nobody would have access to this in their pocket, right? Nobody would have access to be able to create in the way that we have the privilege of creating today. So this is where we started. Then we got into the electronic design of the film camera. As you can see, still very bulky, still something that wouldn't be accessible to most people. But we're coming, we're getting there. Obviously getting a little bit smaller, a little easier to carry around. Then in the 70s, everybody and their grandmama had a cassette tape camera and thought it was the coolest thing, right? Most people probably still couldn't get their hands on one of these, but as you can see, technology is just rapidly advancing. You're talking like 125 years ago, there wasn't even a chance, right, to be able to have access to recording videos. And little by little, we're getting to the point where we can fit it in our purse. We have digital camcorders. I don't know about you, but my dad is still on right here in the 2000s. This makes more sense to some of our baby boomers or Gen Xers. But it's really fascinating to think about, okay, so these digital camcorders, you still kind of needed to know what you were doing, and you still, um, you know, a lot of people might not have had a camcorder unless they were really interested in video, right? If we fast forward to 2010, the first iPhone with the video camera was introduced, right? And predating the iPhone, we had our razors and everyone thought it's so cool that you have your little flip phone and you can take pictures, and then video came out. And then everyone's walking around with the ability to create video, right? It's pretty amazing to think about these advancements. But if anyone has a functioning iPhone 4, I think this is the iPhone 4, please let me know. And I'm sorry if you're still there. But the iPhone 4 kind of introduced this whole new world of people recording videos and being able to post them online. And now look where we are. The iPhone 17 Pro Max is releasing this September. So we're looking at a camera that fits into your pocket, a video camera that has high res. It's going to be able to go super wide and stay super sharp. And then also we got 4K front camera, right? So everyone is taking selfies, and your selfies end up being a little bit blurrier. They're fixing that. We have 8K ultra high definition video. Like, does it need to be that sharp? I don't know. I think it would be pretty cool. And then we have our cinematic mode can now shoot in 4K at slow motion. If anyone has ever been like, oh, I want this image to be super crisp, I want the background blurred, but as of right now, the cinematic mode isn't available on slow motion. So they're adding that feature in. You have front and back high resolution. So we have these super advanced technology at the palm of our hands, right? But what's the use of it if you don't know how to use it? I have a question here. Oh, I like philosophical questions. Do you think that social media is more good or more harmful? That's a good question. We'll get into questions at the end, but keep that one, Trisha, because I will go deep with you on questions like that. Okay, so like I was saying, with these cameras, we have all of this advanced technology in our pockets, but what use is it if we don't know how to use it, right? So we're gonna go a little bit over some of the camera settings that I like to keep my phone on. But also there are ways to just adjust it easily on your phone while you're already in the camera, right? So I'm going to play this video real quick, a quick tutorial on how to adjust your camera settings. Here's how you can adjust the camera settings on your phone. If you go to your settings and toggle down to camera, you'll see there are different options for the quality that the phone will automatically record videos in. If you're recording a regular video, I recommend choosing between 1080 and 4K. This is just about how big the file is and how sharp it will be. 60 frames per second allows you to slow down the video smoothly. In cinematic, I recommend shooting at 4K at 30 frames per second.
I recommend turning on your grid and your level, because as you can see, when you pull up the camera, this will help you frame your shots according to the grid and make sure that your shots aren't crooked. And if you need to adjust the settings, say you want to record a smaller size file, you can do so as well on the camera, just changing between HD and 4K. And at the bottom, you can scroll between what type of video you want to record. There you are.
Okay. So for those who don't know, cinematic is basically trying to replicate what you can get out of a film camera, right? So it is when you see the background is a little bit blurred out. And we can talk about, I gravitate towards shooting everything in cinematic because you can always adjust it. And overall, you'll get a sharper picture from shooting in cinematic mode. And for our Android users, I had a feeling this would come up. Our Android users, I'm sure, I'm not a green text girly, but I'm sure that when you go into your camera settings, you can also adjust there and get some, play with the different settings to get a sharper picture. Like I explained in the video, 60 frames per second is basically means that the every second the camera is shooting 60 frames, right? So why someone might want to shoot in 60 frames per second instead of 30 or 24 is because then they can slow down the video because the software is going to have more frames to work with. It'll give you a smoother slowdown of the video if you're using like a professional video editing software like Premiere Pro. It'll give you a smoother picture if you want it to be kind of like the more dreamy look with slow-mo, but not like super slow. On our phones, if you change your phone to slow motion, it's likely shooting in 120 frames per second, which is very slow. And then I'm pretty sure the iPhone and probably the Androids can go as slow as 240 frames per second, which is insane, right? And that's just saying like it's gonna be extremely slow. And sometimes you don't want like super slow motion, you just want that kind of more cinematic look. And 60 frames per second will allow you to do that without it looking distorted from trying to slow it down. 30 and 24 frames per second is a difference between like 24 frames per second is like if you're getting into more film looking footage, oftentimes they'll shoot in 24 frames per second and 30 is just a little bit different. There's not a huge difference unless you get really down to the weeds. Um, I love to turn on the grid and the level. It just helps you to kind of be more intentional about how you're framing your shots, which we'll get into a little bit more here.
Here's how you can adjust the camera.
Okay, so let's talk really quickly about lighting. Um, Lighting is something that can really make or break your video. Videos that don't have good lighting, it just tends to be harder to pay attention and harder to look. And there are just a few simple things that you can keep in mind when you're shooting to make sure your lighting is most optimal. So if there's a window in the room that you're shooting in, if you're inside and there's a window behind, or even when you're outside, just kind of paying attention to where the sun is, you want to avoid someone being backlit. Outside, that really matters if, like, say for instance, someone is in a shadowy area, and then behind them, if it's super bright, it'll blow out their face and their skin tone in the video. So maybe it looks like just repositioning yourself so that there's not as much bright light in the back of your subject. And so that way you can kind of make out their face and like see them a little bit better. If you're using external light, like an LED light or a ring light, that can help if, say, you really want to shoot in front of a window. You might want to use a light so that it can kind of counteract the light and still, it could fix the shadow and the darkness on someone's face. So, yeah, if you're like shooting in front of anything that's distracting in the background, the light in front of your subject can help with that. And so on some ring lights, they might have the ability to go from a super warm light that's more of like the yellowy feel to a cool setting, which is more like bright and bluish. Generally, rule of thumb is warm, gives a more flattering look on the skin. It just kind of gives more of like a soft look. And then cool is really great when you're doing maybe like a product video and you want to show it super sharply, or if it's like you're going for a techie or clean look, you might want to use a more cool light. Um, Always remember to clean your lens. I don't know if, but you know, the makeup girlies, sometimes we have like the makeup glow on our camera. And so just make sure you give it a little swipe so you'll see like, oh my gosh, this is actually kind of funny. There was a woman that I noticed she was trying to take a video with her front camera and it was really blurry and she kept wiping her back, like the back of her camera light, and then she would put it back up as a selfie and she's like, what's going on? And I saw her do it probably 4 or 5 times, wipe the back camera lens. And I had to tell her, like, my love, the front camera lens is different than the back one. So if you don't know that, you know, it's just, it's just, you know, not everyone knows these things, right? Not everyone knows these things. So just give it a little swipe on your camera, and that way that'll fix any issues that you might be having with blur. So yep, don't, right? Avoid backlighting your subject. It's a really big, it's a real big hindrance when something's backlit. It just makes it harder to watch. And then also, if you're inside a building, natural light is usually best, right? Natural light just looks better. It's softer. It gives you a nice image. So avoid shooting directly under any harsh lights. It casts shadows on your subject's face and it's not great, right? Okay, so audio. Um, I really am an advocate for the Rode Wireless Go 2 mics. I love them. They're like the little square mics that you might see people holding in videos. They have all sorts of accessories for them to kind of hide the mic if you don't like seeing it because it is a little bit bulky, but it has really great audio. And you can also attach a lavalier mic to it. So basically like an external mic that's a little bit smaller that you can clip on someone. There's something called a magnet clip, which I will show you later. That is something that can kind of hide the mic because they're so bulky. But they have really, really good audio. Um, when you're setting the audio adjustments, there's some like external microphones that you don't have control over these settings. It just kind of is what it is. Those are really, you know, readily available on Amazon if you don't want to get into all the technicals. But if you do have something like a wireless Go 2 or mic that allows you to adjust the settings, it's really important to pay attention to the volume at which you're shooting, right? So as you can see right here, I have some recommendations for the volume you want it at. If you're in a room that's fairly, you know, noisy, you might want to shoot at around -12 to -6. And then if you're in a room that's like super like it's very quiet in there and your subject is speaking loudly, you can go as low as like -24. -24, I would say just general rule of thumb is to shoot at a lower dB. That way, and those are decibels. That way you can always adjust in post and put the volume up. But if someone peaks the volume on the mic and like with the oh, I'm annotating. So with the wireless Go 2s, uh, you can see here the the levels at which it's like the volume is going to. So this green will go into the red zone, and that means the audio is peaking. And you don't want it to be in the red zone because in post, it'll be really hard to fix that audio. I also really like these Rode mics because you can do 2 external mics on them, and they'll sync up on the same audio track. And that way you can like do interviews or anything like that. And then it sounds super professional. Make sure you're positioning the mic correctly. So you just put like the mic, you can clip it on someone's and you want it to be around the collarbone area, or you can go as low as like the top of their chest. And that will get the volume pretty clearly. These Rode mics and a lot of mics will come with like a little fuzzy thing. Those fuzzies are if you're shooting outdoors and you want to avoid the wind getting in the way of the audio, you can put the little fuzzy on it and it'll help with the audio there. And then if you want to hide the mic underneath someone's shirt, you might want to put the fuzzy, I don't know the proper name for it, but you might want to put the little fuzzy thing on it underneath your shirt as well so that it's not brushing it up against your hair or the clothes or anything like that. It can kind of help keep the audio quality good. So yep, if you don't have one of those, you don't want to put the mic underneath fabric or anything like that, and because you'll hear it. And then again, setting the gain too high will result in peaking, and you just definitely don't want that. Always try to do a sound check, and that will help you determine if your levels are too high or not. And it just there's nothing like getting to post and you can't use what you got, right? We've had countless times where maybe someone, usually me, forgets to charge the microphones, and then you get to a shoot and you're like, oh crap, we don't have our microphones. So always remember to charge all of your equipment and get to your shoot ready to go. Okay. Okay. I was worried the circles wouldn't go away. How do you make them go away? Okay, so everyone, it's so funny because we've been on Zoom now since the pandemic, right? 21, and I still don't know how to use this thing. Okay, so movement. All right, so movement is so important when it comes to content creation, when it comes to taking video. I think the biggest rule of thumb is to just be really intentional about what you're shooting. I don't know about you, if there's anyone who's like a content creator, but your partner or your spouse is not, and you have to kind of tell them like, don't move the camera around everywhere. Like it can be really bad. Sometimes it's just best to be really intentional and slowly move the camera and get what you're wanting instead of moving it all around the place because it's really distracting. Still training my husband. Yes, me too. I'm like, just keep the camera still. And somehow it ends up in the sky, and I'm like, what is going on? There's nothing like watching a video where they're moving the camera around too fast and then you're like dizzy because you can't really see what they're trying to show you, right? If you have the iPhone or if you have an Android, a lot of the phones now have built-in stabilizers, so you don't have to worry too much about shaky hands. But sometimes it's helpful to have a stabilizer or some kind of gimbal that gives you a smoother picture. And now you can find those for, fairly reasonable prices. Or maybe you just invest in a nice little tripod that can help you to make sure that your movements feel and look professional. Just kind of like rule of thumb is just like, maybe you're just moving your wrist instead of your whole arm sometimes, or maybe you're just tilting the phone up and down rather than dramatic movements. And that just helps you to overall get a better picture. There are tons of accounts on Instagram and on TikTok that have tips about ways to use your phone in a way that's most effective. Sometimes it's just like, there are like, I didn't want to get into everything because there are a ton of different ways based on your niche of like effective ways to shoot video that you can get into the weeds on, but like everyone is doing something different and trying to accomplish something different, right? So one of my favorite things to do is to just go on creator accounts that specifically focus on tips and tricks for how to accomplish certain things and certain ways of moving the camera that are super helpful. How to accomplish certain transitions and, or video forward hooks that like maybe your subject is interacting with graphics. So like maybe they're introducing something on top of their head, and so they do a motion with their hand. And there are all sorts of different ways to make your videos more enhanced in very subtle ways. But I would say overall, just subtle movements with your camera is the best way to do it. Playing around with depth of field with cinematic mode. And I think we get into that on the next screen here. Um, but yeah, just being really intentional about what it is that you're trying to shoot and how you're trying to get that going is the most important thing, right? And sometimes that comes into your pre-production thinking about, okay, what is this video supposed to be about? How do I want to move the camera? How do I want to accomplish what I want to do? The more that you can kind of plan ahead of time will help you while you're actually shooting to get ideas in your head and actually try things on. When you are shooting in cinematic mode, um, you can hold down on the screen and a little square will appear that indicates like that will keep that subject in focus even if they're moving. So it's called AF lock. So you just hold it down until you see AF lock, and then the whole shot, it'll try to keep that main subject in focus. And one of my favorite little tips is, like I was saying before, I tend to shoot in cinematic most of the time, and you can go to the settings on your phone, and go into the video, into edit, and you can actually switch off cinematic mode, or you can adjust the aperture or like the little F in the corner to I think it defaults to 2.4, and basically what that is doing is trying to replicate like a film camera, and it makes the background super blurred out, and you can adjust that to make it a higher aperture, which makes it less depth of field. So you ever see the videos where someone's trying to use cinematic mode and like the ear is out of focus or something like that? That's because the phone is trying to really get the main subject in focus, and sometimes little things get out of focus, and it can be frustrating, right? Like you don't want to have to restart the whole thing. So, um, some little tips and tricks: turn cinematic off in post after you make your video. Okay, so quickly, let's get into some of your creator essentials. Somebody or everybody drop in the chat, what are some things that are essential to you that you don't leave home without if you're gonna shoot a video and you're doing content? Is it your tripod? Is it this or that, whatever? I wanna hear about what you're excited about and what you're using these days. We have some of the things that we have in our kit that I like we don't leave without, and we just got some new equipment that I'm really excited about. Just to like there's like I said, it's just the little things, it's simple things that can really up level your content. So like I said, I swear by these Rode Wireless 2 mics. Let me annotate here. We have this shotgun mic here. If you don't want to shoot with a microphone all the time, this shot mic is like a small little mic that you can attach to like a gimbal, and it'll pick up the audio there. We have this is a portable charger. This is like so nice to have these portable chargers with you because you never know if you're shooting for a long time. A simple tripod. It doesn't have to be anything fancy, but they do get fancy. Maybe you want an overhead tripod if you do a lot of food content or food creation content. And then this 360 LED light is really awesome because it also helps you stabilize your shots. There's a little phone thing that goes on there. It gives you a nice 360 ring light view, but also it has a grip on it. So if you do a lot of food shooting or anything like that, a good, reliable ring light like that is awesome because it can be super mobile. All right. And I'm seeing the time here, so I'm just gonna go through these really quick. Like I said, we're gonna send you all these this recording so you can kind of look through this again. When we are going through a shoot and we're planning on what to shoot, we always make sure to go through pre-production and create a comprehensive brief that includes some inspiration and a shot list. Production is when you're actually shooting the content, and then post-production is when you're editing and writing captions that are effective and that always include a CTA. So I'm just going to tell you, go ahead and take a screen grab of this. These are some great questions to ask yourself while you're putting together a shot list. Just helps you to stay organized and helps you to stay, on point about the things that what it is that you're trying to accomplish with your shoot. Again, this is another one to take a screenshot of when we're writing a brief. These are all of the things that we will go through for every piece of content, or if we're making multiple pieces of content, we'll write out a brief and just get really poignant on what it is that we are trying to do, what it is that we want to accomplish. What's the talent? What are the shot lists? And I always recommend like shoot more than you think you need, right? You never know the ways that you can repurpose content, you can repurpose shots. Maybe you go into a shoot and you take a whole bunch of video, you do a recap, plus you have a few really intentional shots that you can use as quick, hook videos that have like a question and the things that you want to talk about in the caption, or there's just so many different ways that you can repurpose content. So it's always better to overshoot than undershoot. All right. All right. And like we said at the beginning, what are your favorite things to edit on, to make your content? These are some of my favorite tools that are all free. They have free versions and then they have pro versions. CapCut, a lot of us are on CapCut. It's great. Hopefully they don't take it away from us. Edits is a newer Instagram forward. It's like their version of CapCut, but it's for Instagram and it has a lot of great features and it's free, and you can upload your videos straight onto Instagram if you use this app, this Edits app. DaVinci Resolve is a more professional but free platform that you can use to create video content. And then we all know our dear beloved Canva. And that's all I got for you. So I'm going to take a few questions, but also I wanted to make sure you all are aware that the wonderful Stephanie is going to be on with us in about 3 weeks, and she's going to talk about the opposite of the doom scroll, which is the bloom scroll, and kind of reimagining all of the possibilities of everything that's going on in social, what's trending, and how to hop on trends. Stephanie is a wealth of knowledge, and I highly, highly, highly recommend that you come to her webinar. And she's going to be dropping all of the secrets about how to stay on trend and how to have most effective content on social. And questions. We only have about 5 minutes, but I would love to answer any questions. I know I called out that question earlier about is social good or bad? I would say generally it's good, right? Like there's so much potential for what you can do on social. It's more about, like, I think the better question, or not better, but a different question is, how are you using social? How are you capitalizing on it? And how are you really taking advantage of the opportunity for anyone to be a creator, anyone to tell their story? And maybe you drop like the need to be like an influencer, or although we have some amazing influencers here in Cincinnati, drop the need for everyone to see your content and just create and have fun with it, right? I know that is a big thing for me as a content creator. I'm always like, oh my gosh, this needs to be perfect, but what if it doesn't? What if it could just be fun? Do you have a preference on hook style, video versus audio versus combo of both? I think that I would say a combo of both. Like sometimes it's best to just, hop on a trending audio and use that to your advantage. But I think some of my favorite pages are those who use like a combination of everything, right? They have some videos that, you know, are just more focused on like telling a larger story, but there's always an opportunity to bake in a hook. And whether it's audio or visual, I think it's really just up to preference. But I definitely think having a nuance of both on your page is great. Um, I've seen some concerns about using trending audio. While it might be in a music library where it seems safe to use, I've also heard instances where accounts are being flagged. Okay, so with copyright audio, if you have a business account, copyright audio sometimes might get flagged, or you can't put paid behind it, and you have to use audio that's non-copyright. But if you're just kind of playing on your own personal page, most of the time the audio that's available to you on Instagram, you're good to use. So it's more so about if you have a professional account versus not. But you should be safe to use trending audio if you're not like if it's not a copywritten like audio by like an artist, and it's just something that's an original audio on Instagram that's trending, you should be good to use that, and then you can boost those, but sometimes you can't, um, what's it called? Like put paid behind it. I'm gonna check the time real quick. Okay, I can take one more question. Okay, maybe I can't. It just went away. You know what? Thank you all so much. This was so much fun. Like I said, we're going to be giving away a this beautiful selfie monitor, and I think Matthew's going to take over and he's going to let us know who our winner is for that. But I really appreciate you all. Thank you, Matthew, for this opportunity to share a little bit about content production on social. And go out there, have fun, make your content, drop the need for everything to be perfect, and just have fun. Thank you.
Awesome. So I think everyone can see my screen. I just want to make sure you all know this is legit. So I'm using the wheel of names, and I'm going to go ahead and click to spin. There are some Dooley team members in here, so we're not going to reward ourselves, I promise. Maria Eldemeyer. If you could drop in the chat to make sure that you are here. There were some people that dropped off. So Maria, are you still here? Yay! Awesome. Cool. Well, I will get a hold of you after the webinar, and we'll take care of you. So thanks everybody for joining. This was great, and we will send a recording afterwards. So just let us know if you have any needs, and happy shooting. See you, everybody.